innovation done by our own clinicians and just letting them drive it, right? So move the ownership of the innovation out, all the way out, decentralized in the organization to those who do that innovation, and then see what comes of that. And that often leads to not really a very coordinated manner. It means that some people will spend time on things that don't have a good prospect, and you need to pair that up with business skills. So we didn't go for that. Then the second version is sort of an accelerator and incubator, where you have central funding and support. You can pilot things in incubators. So it's a separate unit that then supports the development and launch of different offerings, and then for those pilots that are successful, scale it for rollout. So that's the second one. The third one is just to create a sort of a separate business unit that's meant to develop and launch a completely new channel. So like many e-commerce organizations are just launched as something completely separate business unit. And then finally, the last most sort of extreme option is to have all this done in a completely separate organization, right? And then so call it sort of Boston Children's Innovation Inc. And then
Okay.
Boston would then contract or partner with that external organization to enter contracts for specific innovations where that separate organization would be almost a little bit of a VC fund, kind of like that. It's given some funding. It may be partly owned by Boston Children's Hospital, and it purchases some of the innovations that are done within the hospital. So that's a completely separate. So those
what approach did you guys go with?
So we went with the sort of accelerator and incubator approach because we wanted to make sure that there's a lot of, in order to be successful, you want to have a lot of engagement throughout the organization, because many of these innovations, part of the value, it's only valuable, or a lot of the value comes from the fact that it's been piloted at Boston Children's. Right? So it's our clinicians say that, hey, not only did we think of this innovation and build it, we also deployed it in our own environment, and it works. That stamp of approval is worth a lot. And so to get that stamp of approval, you need to deploy it, which means that you're going to have to get into the organization and work with our IT department to build up, the technology pipes to feed the information. You need to partner with finance to come up with a way to compensate our physicians for their time and effort they spend on this. So there's a lot of things, you need to market it, right? So there's a lot of, you need to work closely within the organization to do that. So that's why we went for the accelerator model. But then a big advantage of that was that we were given, because we were given the funding to support the innovations that we thought made sense. That way, people will come to us. It was never perceived as sort of us being a police that will go and doom some ideas or not others. Since we had the funding, we were able to support what we thought would make sense. Different ideas that make sense. So that put us in a.
So how do you define what makes sense, though? Because you can measure that. Like commercially, like what's gonna result in the biggest return, or two, what's going to impact patients the most, or three, like what's like an internal stakeholder at the hospital, what's going to make them the happiest. So like, how do you decide who gets funding and who doesn't?
So we have, and we went all the way up to the board with a specific set of vetting criteria by which we would evaluate all the different ideas that would come in.
Okay.
And there were 6 criteria. There's, first of all, mission, which to us means overall impact on child health. Then you have